Good evening, everyone. My name is Vicky Jalley and I'm the Mayor of Warrnambool City Council and I'll be chairing tonight's council meeting. I would like to formally welcome everyone watching and this council meeting tonight and in the room. This council meeting will be live streamed to allow for public viewing and transparency. If any technical problems interrupt the live stream during this meeting, the meeting will be adjourned until the issues are rectified. This scheduled council meeting will be conducted in accordance with council's governance rules, and any interruptions to the meeting or actions not in line with behaviour expectations will be dealt with in accordance with these rules. As part of making, we come to this meeting to make decisions, and as part of making these decisions, we are presented with comprehensive information that helps us form our position. You will find this in the agenda. It should also be remembered that the council meeting is a meeting of the council that is open to the public, not a public meeting with the council. Each council is required to have governance rules that pertains to meeting procedures. Warrnambool City Council has followed best practice in this regard, and its governance provides regulations and procedures for the governing and conduct of council meetings. We thank you in anticipation for your cooperation in this matter. I'd like now to ask everyone to stand for the welcome prayer. We now proceed to the items on the agenda, commencing with the opening prayer and acknowledgement of the traditional owners. Almighty God, grant to this council wisdom, understanding and sincerity of purpose for the good governance of this city. Amen. I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we stand and pay my respect to their elders past and present. Thank you. Hope you'll excuse my croaky voice. I've lost it from last week and it's only just back. Okay, thank you. Are there any apologies for this meeting? Thank you. Confirmation of minutes. Councillors, at item 3 on the agenda, we have a recommendation before us to confirm the minutes of the scheduled meeting of council held on the 5th of September 2022. Are there any questions before I seek a motion for this item? Thank you. No. Do I have a mover? Councillor Ziegler, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Arnott. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Agenda item 4, conflicts of interest. If a councillor has a conflict of interest, they must declare it now and do so again just prior to the item being discussed. A councillor who has declared a conflict of interest must leave the meeting and remain outside the room while the matter is being considered or any vote is taken. Once the matter is resolved, the councillor will return to the meeting. Are there any declarations of conflicts of interest this evening? Thank you. No. Agenda item 5, which is the mayoral presentation. We're looking forward to the AFLW game, football game, that's coming this Sunday, the 9th of October at 1:10 p.m. at the Reed Oval. The game will be with Essendon and Geelong, and it looks forward to be an exciting game. It's great to attract elite competitions such as this, which encourages participation not only for female sports but for all community members to become active, and especially our young community members to be involved and healthy. So we're hoping that there'll be about 4,000 or 5,000 people there. Hope the weather's fine. And remember that if you would like to attend, you must book online through Ticketmaster to gain access to the game. It's $10 for adults and free for entry for all under 18. So it's a really good thing to be coming to the city for us all. And I'd also like to congratulate all those involved in last Saturday's Multicultural Festival, which was held on the Civic Green. The event was attended by about 4,000 people over the day. I was there earlier in the day when it opened at 10 and there were hundreds of people there then. There were so many cultures represented, about 20 different nationalities, and a lot of people made comment that they didn't realise we had that many nationalities in our city. So it was really good. It was great to celebrate the diversity of our community. They shared their culture, their dance, their food, and coming together of so many. A lot of hard work was done by the organisers, and it definitely paid off, and I hope it returns as an annual event for the city, because I think it was well received by everyone. Thank you. Agenda item 6, petitions and joint letters. 6.1, petitions, objection to proposed relocation of Warrnambool Art Gallery to Cannon Hill. Written and electronic petitions have been received with 5,013 combined signatures lodged by David Atkinson, OAM, JP, Brian Guide and Ray Lockheed, objecting to the proposed relocation of Warrnambool Art Gallery at Cannon Hill. Chief Executive Officer Mr Schneider, per section 25(6) of the governance rules, can you please read out the petition?
Mayor, both petitions are exactly the same in wording, and that is objection to proposed relocation of Warrnambool Art Gallery to Cannon Hill.
Thank you. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Arnott, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ziegler, thank you. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 7, public question time. All questions must be received no later than 2 hours before the commencement of the scheduled meeting or 4 p.m. on the day of the scheduled council meeting, where it is scheduled to commence at 5:45, at which the question is to be asked. 30 minutes will be allocated at each public meeting of the public question time. Where the 30 minutes allocated has been exhausted, a motion to extend must be put forward and passed for public question time to extend. Mr Schneider, are there any public questions tonight?
Madam Mayor, we've received one question from Mr Stephen Moore. I'm not too sure if he's in the audience tonight.
No, I don't think he is.
No? Like me to read that out?
Yes, we'll allow, even though we're voting on a change of that, we'll allow you to read. He said it in a couple of times, so we'll allow you to read it out and give an answer.
Right. Mayor, the question is, has the design work for Scaborio Reserve been completed yet, please? That really is the question. The other two parts of the are statements. So the response to the question as asked is, a draft design has been completed and will be checked on site and could possibly be staged in its construction, as it includes formalising indented parking at the base of Scaborio Reserve. The design will provide for car and trailer parking only areas, an accessible parking area and increased areas for car park and trailer parking.
Thanks, Mr Schneider. Councillors, we're now moving to the officers' report section of the agenda. I would like to remind you of the speaking times allocated for each item during the meeting as outlined in our governance rules. The mover of a motion may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes to open the debate and then a further 2 minutes later on to exercise their right of reply and to close the debate. Any other councillor, including the seconder, may speak for or against a motion for no more than 3 minutes. To assist councillors with time limits, you'll hear a signal when you've reached the maximum time allowed. I would ask you to respect those time limits, please. Okay, agenda item 8, reports. 8.1, amendment to governance rules, conduct of virtual council meetings. Agenda page number 6, Directorate Department Executive Services. This report provides information on the proposed amendments to the governance rules for the conduct of virtual council meetings and delegated committee meetings following public exhibition of the proposed changes to the governance rules. Are there any questions, councillors, before I seek a motion on this? Okay, thank you. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Arnott, what is your motion?
That Council adopt the governance rules as at attachment 1 of this report to provide for councillors and members of delegated committees attendance and participation in virtual and hybrid, combination of virtual and in-person council meetings and delegated committee meetings.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ziegler, thank you. Councillor Arnott, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, please. This piece of legislation amends the Local Government Act 2020 to provide councillors and members of delegated committees in attendance and participation in online council meetings and delegated committees. We've seen throughout COVID the interruptions it has made to council performing their roles. I think it's just a sensible approach, and I fully support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ziegler, would you like to speak?
Yes, Mayor Jelly. It's my considered opinion that this is just an essential move to keep it up with the digital age. The fact that we had access to things like Zoom and all the other services for online presentations in all fields made sure that the world was still able to be run. Professionally, socially and all the rest, it makes perfect sense that councils are able to do that, and that the amendment is an essential in this day and age, particularly in view of the pandemic, as Councillor Arnott so rightly said. We need to be able to conduct our meetings virtually and do it without any impediment to the normal procedures that we enjoy. The one word of caution is that we have to guard against going completely digital, because there's still a significant proportion of the population who don't have access to digital technology and don't intend to have. So that this has to be a hybrid arrangement until the world goes totally digital, sorry.
Thanks, Councillor Ziegler. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that, of course, the amendments facilitate the likely scenario in future that virtual or hybrid type meetings may need to be held from time to time, given what society's been through in the last couple of years and how people have had to adapt. I do think that the single submission we received that asked if members of the public could ask their question virtually if they weren't physically present was a good suggestion. Council have modified this request slightly so the CEO can ask the question on that person's behalf if required. I do, however, believe that the suggestion can be worked through at Council in a more robust manner in future versions of the governance rules to facilitate members of the public asking their questions virtually. I don't think it's a no, it's maybe just a not now. So I do support the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Blaine.
Thank you, Mayor Jelly. I agree with everyone. I think it is important we have hybrid meetings, especially in the new post-COVID age, and I do think it's a really positive sign of transparency with the CEO being able to read out public questions. It removes the need for members of the public to be present, especially when we offer the opportunity for anyone to watch the meeting via a live stream, so they don't actually have to be here in order to see council business that's going on. So I do think that's a step forward for transparency for this council. Still, I would like to see questions from the floor on the items that are on the agenda. I think that's good for both council and the public in order to gauge where everyone's sitting right before decision making, but I'm hoping that'll be something that'll be into the future, but I'm happy to support the recommendations at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Jelly. I'd like to just support the comments from my fellow councillors in as much as life has changed and the change of meetings has changed considerably over the last few years, especially brought upon by COVID. So I would support all our recommendations. Thank you, Mayor Jelly.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. There being no other councillors wish to speak. Councillor Arnott, do you want to close?
No, thank you, Mayor Jelly.
Thank you. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Agenda item 8.2, Annual Report 2021 to 2022, agenda page number 10, Directorate Corporate Strategies. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider the Annual Report 2021-2022. Any questions before we go ahead? Thank you. No. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Paspaliaris, what is your motion?
That council endorses the Warrnambool City Council Annual Report 2021-2022.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Arnott, thank you. Councillor Paspaliaris, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. Just to say that the report's a detailed look at council progress against council plan objectives, and I think it's an opportunity for the council to present to the public about its performance over the 21-22 year. Some of the highlights for me were the $980,000 jetty flat upgrade funding, the recycled glass, rubber and plastic being used for council's road rehabilitation program, the new concrete footpaths and accessible change rooms built at Lake Patobe, the small infrastructure fund and community development fund, which gave a combined $650,000 boost back into our community over a variety of groups and projects. And finally, that the lower rubbish volumes are going to landfill, which has reduced the cost of the service, where landfill levies are an expensive component of the overall service cost. The service feedback that we got was, I think, lower than the year before, but I think that's more just education over time that really will help, I guess, cast the waste service in a better light. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Arnott, would you like to speak?
Yes, please. Even throughout the challenges of COVID-19, Council have been able to deliver some amazing results, and some of those big ticket items have been the completion of Reed Oval development, which includes a new surface built to AFL and Cricket Victoria standards, with improved lighting and a new inclusive pavilion that enables female participation, which I feel is really important. A new learning and library hub centre, which will be open shortly, is going to be an invaluable asset to the region. We've had an upgrade to the Lake Patobe play space, which is, I'm sure, going to be hugely successful and enjoyed by many young children from near and far. I also just want to make note of the Community Development Fund. We're able to allocate funds to 54 local clubs and organisations. And some of those organisations, environment and sustainability, received $23,000, events and festivals $42,000, and sport and recreation, culture and arts $152,000. I think that's just a great result, and it shows that Council is trying to help support the community organisations and clubs. There have been many great things that Council have been able to achieve throughout a difficult year, along with being short-staffed. So I think a huge congratulations must go to all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Ziegler.
Yes, Mayor Jelly, the one thing that jumps out of the annual report to me is the extra mile that the library staff have gone in this particular period. The episode of COVID vaccination certificates, where the library staff made themselves available to help non-computer literate people get access to their vaccination certificates. The staff went out of their way to do that, and now they're going out of their way again to create the transition from the old library to the new library. I know it's very exciting for them, probably, that they're going to new digs, but it takes extra effort and extra will and motivation for them, for that particular group of staff, to make that transition a success. And I'd just like to acknowledge their extra work in both of those particular areas.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Blaine?
Thank you, Mayor Jelly. It has been positive to see some of the great projects that we're seeing be completed or are nearly complete. The library's set to be open on the 10th of October. That's going to be a game changer for our city. The Reed Oval is complete. Jetty Flat is going to be an amazing facility. It's good to see environmentally, like we've been using the recycled glass and the bitumen. The boat ramp's well and truly underway, and the Lake Plateau play space. It's really good to see all these things happening in our growing city. But what next? What for the future? It's important we get some critical projects complete and the planning underway, especially for a growing city. Briley Reserve, it's something that we need to get moving with the growth corridor to the north of the city. This is going to be critical to be providing services and infrastructure for the whole north area. 3-year-old kinder, well, it's been announced that there's an increase in hours that we'll have to be providing for our children. It's critical that we're planning for the infrastructure, the staff, and the placement of these facilities. As our city continues to grow, the need for these services are going to continue as well. The new aquatic centre, it needs to get moving. It just feels like it's something that's been on the back burner for the last year. And we need to start actively doing the work in order to be getting in line in order to deliver this for Warrnambool. The aquatic strategy, that's another important piece of work as well, to make the best use of the facility that we've got. You know, it's one of the only public pools in Warrnambool, and it's critical for a healthy city. The animal shelter, the demand for this service is going to continue to grow as our city continues to grow, and we need to be moving on this as well. Not just for us, but I think for the region. And delivering for our furry friends. It's important, especially not just for the city's, not just for our pets, but for the city's pet owners. And hopefully, as this happens, we'll be able to bring down registrations. And the number one thing I think we really need to be looking at when we're advocating is housing supply. We're growing, industry's growing, but we're struggling to house everyone. And it's workers, there's social housing needs to Warrnambool. It's critical that we work to advocate so that there can be more housing stock created and fast-tracking housing supply with the right infrastructure for the growth of the city and to ensure everyone in Warrnambool has a place to live. You know, we need to be looking forward. If we aren't focusing on the current and future needs of the city, we'll fall behind. It's to have the best city that we can. I believe it's critical we can continue to deliver on what Warrnambool needs now and moving into the future. And I think we've got to be, it's key that we keep this planning and this vision alive as we move forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Blaine. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor Jelly. I'd like to endorse my fellow councillors' comments on the annual report, and topping it all off is the completion of the Reed Oval, and that is fully endorsed by having the AFWL match there this Sunday, which will be putting Warrnambool on the map in Victoria, and also the completion of the Edwards Bridge and the Library and Learning Centre and the Lake Plateau Adventure play space, all to be completed very soon. Our council staff have been very hard at work over the past 12 months. Thank you, Mayor Jelly.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? I'd reiterate what everyone said. There's a lot been happening over the last year. Coming out of COVID hasn't been easy. Solar power for the WAG, the Civic Centre, Aquazone, Archie Graham, that's a big step forward for our future. That's been a process and it's great. We 2022 Community Satisfaction Survey, we got great results, and I think that's a testament to working together, our great staff working together. So I think that's take your hat off to all the staff. And, there was 100,000 each for the Elmsford Strategic Framework Plan and 100,000 to develop the Bushfield Woodford Strategic Framework Plan. We often people think that we leave behind parts of the city, but we don't. We're working on areas out there that are very important to us all. We've had a lot of advocacy at Spring Street, and which I'm sure will come to fruition with a a lot of things that Councillor Blaine has brought up there. I'm sure they will come to fruition. So very proud year, and I just think it's something, a very positive report. Okay, Councillor Paspaliaris, would you like to close?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Being no further speakers, I'd now like to put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you, carried unanimously. Agenda item 8.3, Information Communications Technology Shared Services Joint Venture Establishment. Agenda page number 13, Directorate Corporate Strategies. The report recommends Warrnambool City Council enter and establish an unincorporated joint venture for the purpose of operating the South West Council's ICT, Information Communications Technology Alliance. The joint venture's proposed is to implement, then operate, a business case prepared for and funded by the State Government's Rural Council's Transformation Program. Any questions on this one? Okay, councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Blaine, what is your motion?
I move that we accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Blaine, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. The shared services agreement is something that will hopefully be a cost-saving measure across not just Warrnambool but Moyne, Corangamite as well, with the three councils getting together and lobbying the state government for $4.5 million. Establishment of this unincorporated committee is important to ensure that even though we're using the same ICT technology, that it's followed by best practice with the governance rules so that all councils are across it. One thing I would like to say about it, one thing that I would like to say about it is at this point in time it'll only affect the corporate services area mainly, which for Warrnambool shouldn't be a huge change to how the services are delivered as far as I understand it. And I just hope that this will lead to a better and more streamlined technology across the organisation, across the region. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Blaine. Councillor Ziegler.
Thanks, Mayor Jelly. Yes, it seemed to make perfect sense to me to collaborate with our neighbouring shires because of, as Councillor Blaine has already said, the economies of scale, the close relationships we have with those particular bodies, and the connections inside and outside our particularly small municipality. It broadens our scope and it adds weight to our cries for assistance and our sphere of influence if we've got a little greater area and a greater population to add weight to calls for assistance from government for funding and those kind of issues. So I'm all in favour of that. It's just perfect sense to collaborate with our neighbours.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? No? Okay, thank you. There being no further speakers, Councillor Blaine, would you like to close?
No, thank you, Mayor Jelly.
Thank you. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 8.4, Development Plan Application DP 2022-005147 Wollaston Road. Agenda page number 19, Directorate Department, City Growth. This report considers the north of the Marai River development plan describing future residential development, a retirement village and open space development in relation to 147 Wollaston Road, and recommends that Council approve the plan subject to required changes. Any questions on this, councillors? Thank you. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Arnott, what is your motion?
I'd like to move that we accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second the motion.
Councillor Ziegler, thank you. Councillor Arnott, would you like to speak?
Yes, please. This development plan is to be sited on 24.8 hectares within the north of the Merri growth area. It's being proposed to have 52 residential lots as a retirement village comprising 192 dwellings, a golf course, open space and associated roads, infrastructure and facilities. We are facing a housing shortage and we do have an ageing population, so there is a need for this type of development. However, I am a little concerned about the drainage issues pertaining to where the golf course is meant to be sited, that it is in the floodplain area. But at this stage, we are only voting on stage 1, so I am prepared to support the motion subject to further planning and the agreement in section 2 of the recommendation. Thank you, Mayor Jelly.
Thank you. Councillor Ziegler.
Yes, Mayor Jelly, I have similar reservations to those mentioned by Councillor Arnott in that while we do need this kind of development around the town, I have particular reservations with regard to the floodplain corridor. It seems to me that the floodplain corridor has been provided as public open space in part 1 of the motion. Part 2, that the public open space is going to be compromised by an exclusive, or possibly compromised by an exclusive leasing arrangement where portions of that public open space will be sequestered to the retirement village. The only reason I seconded this was so that we could actually open it for debate. But as I say, I have particular reservations about it being closed off. It seems to me that we're giving it public open space with one hand and possibly taking it away. And while it's only stage 1, I'm happy to support stage 1, but the motion actually says that we are to receive a follow-up report on proposed leasing of portions of the public open space. So I'm prepared to go with that so we can discuss it further.
Thanks, Councillor Ziegler. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Blaine.
Thank you, Mayor Jelly. Look, I understand as a growing city, we do have the need for housing, we do have an ageing population, we do need more housing, and retirement village housing would be great. I just have some really big concerns around this development plan. As Councillor Ziegler pointed out, the idea of using public open space for a private golf course goes against my feeling for what public open space is. It's important that the public can actually enjoy all of our open space. If it's a private golf course, the public aren't going to have access. Also, being in a floodway, any works that are going to be done there are going to impede the flows of Russell's Creek, that go through there in the Merri. So I would say that by endorsing this development plan as it sits at the moment, and even though there is a report coming back to council, the toothpaste already out of the tube, I find it hard for us to go back on that after we've endorsed this plan. The other thing which I'm actually really concerned about with this development plan, and it is part of stage 1, is if the Bromfield Street Bridge actually ever does materialise. The road through the development's only a little 2-lane road. It's a little 2-lane residential road. That's going to be, if the Bromfield Street Bridge is ever constructed, that's going to be a major thoroughfare from North Warrnambool, and it's going to be one of the key roads. It's going to take pressure off Mortlake Road. And as the road sits at the moment, it's a little 2-lane road. If there's a car on the side, you're going to be going up through the middle. If we endorse this the way it sits at this point in time, that road will be built, and if the bridge is built, who is going to have to upgrade that road? Who's going to have to pay for it? And I don't think that's something that the ratepayers of Warrnambool should have to pay for. It should be something that is done correctly from the start of this plan in order to ensure that the infrastructure is going to be sufficient for the future needs of Warrnambool, and that should be seen as a main corridor, especially with the Bromfield Street Bridge proposed to be right at the end of it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. I too have a major concern with the golf course being private and also being provided on what should be genuinely open space. It is inconsistent with the anticipated use of the site within the north of the Marai Structure Plan, and the Glenelg Hopkins Catchment Management Authority have also held back in not approving the proposal, and for this reason I'm not supporting this application.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Koch.
Thank you, Mayor Jelly. I do agree with my colleagues who supported the motion. This development plan is great for the city. Will solve a lot of issues, accommodation, and also as well as transport, because having a retirement village is a big solution to the issues we are facing at the moment. But I do see there is some issues that need to be tackled or need to be discussed further, as Councillor Ziegler said. Using public space as private also, I do see it's not actually a thing to go. We need to discuss this further so that we find a solution. But I do support the motion.
Thank you.
Condition of discussion, more discussion.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? I agree with some of the concerns. I've got no issue about a retirement village. We've got a couple in the city already, but I do have grave concerns about the public open space, as some of the other councillors have mentioned. I know it's not in this particular part, but I don't know how a private golf course would run on public open space. I've got an issue there. I also have an issue with the Wollaston Road itself. As we know, we're looking to get a major restructure of Wollaston Road, which it needs it now, and I know we're advocating for that into the future, and hopefully that will be fixed, because that area is such a busy area with blocks of land available out there, they're coming available, and school, and there will be another school out there at some stage. So I have concerns about it, that we might be putting this forward to before we know that that road is upgraded. I know this is stage one, but I've got quite a few questions about the remaining part. Okay, Councillor Arnott. No further speakers. Would you like to close?
I'm listening to everyone, and I think everyone has raised really valid points concerning this development. As I said, you know, I myself caught in a little bit of a quandary here. We do need the housing stock, we do need the housing supply, we do need the retirement village aspect, but for sure that supposed golf course on public land and the floodplain is a concern. I'm only hoping that in the part two, where we go back and revisit this, is actually what can happen with sections, stages 2 and 3. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? That's 1, 2, 3 in favour. All those against? 4. Thank you. The motion is lost. Thank you. (8.5) Agenda item, Flagstaff Hill Maritime Village, commencement of business case and master plan. Agenda page number 23, Directorate City Growth. This report provides information on the commencement of a business case and master plan to inform the future directions of Flagstaff Hill Maritime Village Precinct and seeks representation from councillors to be part of the project reference group. Any questions on this, councillors? Thank you. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Arnott, what is your motion?
I would like to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pasbaliaris, thank you. Councillor Arnott, would you like to speak?
Yes, I would. Flagstaff Hill Maritime Village is a very much loved facility within Warrnambool. However, it is located on Crown land and has been operating since the mid-1970s. So, of course, looking at the time lapse, it is going to be tired. It does need some major works and it may need to be reimagined. We have to be able to utilise that facility to the best that we possibly can. It does help our tourism industry, but are we using it to the best advantage? How much money does it need to be spent on it? So we actually have to go out to the market, test what needs to be seen, identify strategic and innovative projects around it and help build a master plan. And it's also a time that we can look at opportunities as Warrnambool to help enhance our tourism industry. So I think this study a business case is very, very important for the growth of tourism and attractions in Warrnambool. So I'm more than happy to support it.
Thank you. Councillor Pasbaliaris.
I do agree with Councillor Arnott in the points she's raised. I am also keen to ensure that there is extensive consultation provided, just so that we get a really good representation of feedback. And obviously it's been quite a successful, now possibly a quite dated, but also very controversial type topic on what the community deems as important for the site and how successful something in its current form or otherwise may be. So I think we need as much feedback from the community as possible. I'm just glad it's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Ziegler.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Jelly. Flagstaff Hill, as Councillor Arnott rightly pointed out, has been a much-loved feature of the local community for some time. I remember well the bare paddock that was there beforehand. It was never envisaged as a competitor to Swan Hill or to Ballarat Sovereign Hill. It was actually envisaged as a legitimate museum, and at some points in its history it's actually been regarded as a fairly important reference point for research for a somewhat narrow frame of reference in terms of the times it represented. I believe that it could be expanded to become more of a legitimate museum. It could also, given cooperation with our Indigenous community, possibly a place of remembrance and a museum for those kind of subjects and topics for them, which at present it doesn't consider at all. We're told that that particular part of Warrnambool has particular significance for the Indigenous community, and I believe that there is certainly scope for us to develop something much more relevant in that area. certainly the business case and the master plan needs to be looked at. We need to make it much more relevant to the modern community. I'd like to see it become more or re-regarded as a legitimate scientific point of reference as a museum and for research. And I'd like to see it stop bleeding money.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to speak? Councillor Koch.
Thank you, Mayor Jelly. Flagstaff Hill is, I can say, is a historical pride of this city and need to be maintained at any cost. And this will, business case will lead us to better options that we need to keep it and make it better to generate income to the city, because at the moment it's a big liability on our budget. So we need really to see into it that is activated, is useful, can generate more money to our city. So I really excited to see the outcome of this business case in future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Jelly. I'd like to endorse a lot of the comments Councillor Ziegler has said, and I would support a commencement of the business case and master plan for Flagstaff Hill, as I believe it's the sole and only tourist attraction in Warrnambool, maybe along with our beach and foreshore, which also attracts a lot of tourists. But if Warrnambool was all of a sudden found itself without Flagstaff Hill, it would leave a major hole in the tourism attractions in Warrnambool. So fully support the master plan to improve Flagstaff Hill. Thank you, Mayor Jelly.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, this, I believe that this business case and master plan is very important. Look forward to learning what it brings to us. It needs to reimagine something that's been here for a long time, that has been a financial burden over the last years. When, as Councillor Paspallaris reiterated before, when the community are asked for feedback and to be involved in the consultation, I really encourage everyone to do so, and do so then, because after the fact, it's too late. We come out to so many things and ask for your feedback and give plenty of time and plenty of options to do that. So really encourage everyone to speak up and say what your thoughts are on it. Help us reimagine it. And so I look forward to this, this coming to fruition early next year when we get a report back. Okay, no further speakers. Councillor Arnott, would you like to close?
The only thing I wish to add, just endorse that we really do encourage the community to take part in, when we get to the consultation stage, to as Mayor Jelly has said, to get involved. It will be really important. And I just want to make note that this business case has been funded by the state government. So the total cost of the project is about $120,000. We have received a grant for $110,000 sourced from the state government. So I think that is just a great thing. So let's hope we can really get Flagstaff Hill on the move and we can get something really innovative happening up there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Agenda item 8.6, award of contract 2022-032, McGennan's Amenity Block, agenda page number 27, City Infrastructure. This report provides information in relation to the award of contract 2022-32 McGinnon's amenity block. Any questions? Excuse me. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Blaine, what is your motion?
I move that council award contract 2020-032 McGinnon's amenity block to Bold Construction Proprietary Limited for the tendered amount of $739,987.54, excluding GST, with a total delegated award value of $813,986.30, including GST. Authorise the CEO to deliver the McGinnon's amenity block in accordance with the contract within the CEO's financial delegations, accept Schedule 2D day work rates offered to undertake any extra works over and above the lump sum price if required, provided that the additional works can be accommodated within the project budget, and authorise the CEO to sign, seal and vary the contract as required.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Ziegler, thank you. Councillor Blaine, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Jelly. It's really exciting. We're finally getting to tender stage here. One change that has happened is we're going to be using parts of the old Edwards, the timber beams from the Edward Street and Wollaston Street bridges to feature in a pergola with precast concrete seats, which will be really, really exciting. The project's going to have a minimum life of 50 years, so hopefully this will be, you know, a multi-generational project that'll really improve the amenity down there, especially for young families using the beach and using our foreshore. I think it's really exciting, and it's been half funded by the federal government through the Building Better Regions Fund. So I'd like to say thank you for them for half the funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ziegler.
Yes, I'd like to reiterate the thanks that Councillor Blaine has offered to the Building Better Regions funds, so that it enables us to have this new amenity block, down in that on the beach side of Lake of Patobe Road. It's a no-brainer. We had to have it. What we had is not up to scratch, and was quite an embarrassment, really, and the fact that this is a new amenity block which has the features mentioned by Councillor Blaine, using the old timbers from the two bridges, is fantastic. I think it's well overdue, and it's going to be another enhancement to a particularly lovely area.
Thanks, Councillor Ziegler. Anyone else like to speak? No. Oh, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Jelly. It is not the desired location that I would have preferred the toilet block. I would have preferred it up in the McGinnon car park area, but the current site is terribly old. It's well past its due-by date, and it was we had quite a few things against us to have it relocated up in McGinnon's car park. So I'll settle for this new location and accept the council officer's recommendation. Thank you, Mayor Jelly.
Thanks, Councillor Taylor. Anyone else like to speak? Thank you. I agree. It's great to get this going, and it's going to be family friendly with shower rooms to bring yourself and the kids in after you've been at the beach. It's all abilities friendly, and the access will be great. The other one's well past its due-by date, so look forward to this happening. Now, so Councillor Blaine, would you like to close?
No, thank you, Mayor Jelly.
Thank you. There'll be no further discussion. We'll all take a vote now. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Agenda item 8.7, Advisory Committee Reports. Agenda page number 30, Directorate City Growth. This report contains the record of 2 advisory committee meetings. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Ziegler, what is your motion?
I'd move that the council, that the officer's recommendation be received.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Paspaliaris, thank you. Councillor Ziegler, would you like to speak?
No, thank you, Mayor Jelly.
Councillor Paspaliaris? Anyone like to speak? Thank you. There being no further discussion, Councillor Ziegler, you don't want to close. Now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Agenda item 8.8, informal meetings of council reports. Agenda page number 31, Directorate Executive Services. The purpose of this report is to provide council with copies of informal meetings of council previously known as Assembly of Councillor Records, as previously required under section 80A2 of the Local Government Act 1989. Any questions on this? Thank you. Do I have a motion, councillors? Councillor Blaine, what is your motion?
That the record of informal meetings of council held on the 12th, 19th and 26th of September 2022 be received.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Arnott. Councillor Blaine, do you want to speak?
No, thank you.
Councillor Arnott.
No, thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to this? Thank you. No. Councillor Blaine, you don't want to, you'd like to close?
No, thank you.
Sorry, thank you. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Agenda 8.9, Mayoral and Chief Executive Officer Council Activities Summary Report. Agenda page number 32, Directorate Executive Services. This report summarises Mayoral and Chief Executive Officer Council activities since the last ordinary meeting, which particularly relate to key social, economic and environmental issues of direct relevance to the Warrnambool community. Any questions on this before I seek a motion? Do I have a motion, councillors? Councillor Arnott, what is your motion?
That the Mayoral and Chief Executive Officer Council Activities Summary Report be received.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Blaine, thank you. Councillor Arnott, would you like to speak?
No, thank you.
Councillor Blaine? Anyone else? Thank you. Being no further discussion, now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Right, we're up to number 9, notice of motion. There's no notice of motion being received. Agenda item 10, general business. General business is for items that are of a minor or routine nature, and I retain the right to reject items in accordance with clause 29(2) of the governance rules. Are there any items of general business? Thank you. No. Urgent business. Urgent business which has not been listed on the agenda for the council meeting that is not of a minor or routine nature can only be admitted as urgent business by resolution of council. Have you received any items, Mr Schneider?
None received, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, we're up to agenda item 12, which is the close of meeting, and declare closed at 6:42 p.m. Thanks, everyone.